the possibility of an unraveling in Pakistan, on the whole, I think is not something that should make us complacent. If anything, it should make us even more vigilant, and we should try to understand all the possible implications and the ramifications.
Hello and welcome to StratNewsGlobal. You're on our daily evening program, The Gist. I'm Nitin Gokhale. And on the opening day of the week, we are going to discuss the situation in Pakistan, which is always interesting and which is something that interests a lot of people across the world and of course in the Indian subcontinent. And to tell us what is the current situation, why did it happen and where does it look like going, we have someone who has watched Pakistan very closely as a professional for years together, Ramanathan Kumar, a familiar face on StratNewsGlobal and someone who has an astute take on what happens in our Western neighbors' polity and the army and the military. That's what we're going to talk to him about. So welcome to this program once again.
Thank you very much, Nitin. Thank you for having me back on the show. It's
always a pleasure to talk to you, like you were saying. And we at Strat News Global, we always look forward to your insights on Pakistan. So give me your first reaction when you saw what happened in Lahore and Rawalpindi and the arrest of Imran Khan and the subsequent events. Your first assessment of that.
My first assessment is that I would tend to agree with what the Dawn newspaper of Pakistan, which is not given to sensationalism, wrote in its editorial yesterday. And they said that A, Pakistan is flirting with civil war, and B, that if there was a doomsday clock in Pakistan, it would be now showing 60 seconds to midnight.
Which is a very apt description, you would think?
Yes, I think on the whole it is an apt description because the clash of institutions that we have been talking about all these months, ever since the time that Imran Khan's government was removed in a vote of no confidence in April 2022, from around that time, the clash of institutions, the conflict between the major actors, the discord between Imran Khan and the army, initially with the previous army chief and now with the present army chief. So Imran Khan versus the army, government versus the opposition, the judiciary, the higher judiciary has also jumped into the fray. So judiciary versus parliament, all these conflicts have only exacerbated at an alarming pace, if one may say so. And I think Pakistan is really teetering on the brink of anarchy or an anarchic situation at this point of time.
So if there was to be a blame put on one or two people or two institutions, would you think Imran Khan went too far in attacking not just the army but also the ISI? And that even the Pakistani army perhaps underestimated the extent of anger against the establishment. Did that contribute to what we saw over the period of 2 days after his arrest?
Yes, I mean, it is the feud, quite obviously, between Imran Khan and now the present army chief, which has reached a boiling point. It is very difficult to say which is the action and which is the reaction which is contributing to all this, because it has now become a vicious sort of self-reinforcing cycle. But I think the last provocation was the very sharp, criticism that Imran Khan has been leveling against specific officers of the army and the ISI. As he has in particular specifically named Major General Faisal Nasir, the DGCI of the ISI, as being responsible for the attempt on his life and on and on still trying to physically liquidate him.
Right.
And he is also, so it is, in a sense, I would say, Imran Khan's continuing and his persistent attacks on the army, which possibly have unnerved the army, which is not used to its authority being challenged in this manner. And I think that is what really prompted his arrest last Tuesday.
Right.
It was, of course, a long time coming, most people would say.
Sure.
And it was only a question of when, if not if, that he would be arrested.
Right.
So it happened. And of course, people would say that the manner in which it was done in a rather ham-handed and amateurish manner when he was already present in the court premises, and that, of course, led the Chief Justice to strike down the arrest. But this was coming, and it was only a matter of when, if not if.
That's true. In fact, that brings me to the other questions that have been raised across the world, and especially around Pakistan. Is the Pakistani army's authority shrinking? Has it been challenged to an extent where you saw a mob entering some of the premises which were out of bounds all this while? So how do you see that? I mean, is the Pakistani army, was it playing soft? Was it letting the anger being vented by the people a bit before cracking down, or do you think it was a spontaneous reaction which they didn't expect?
Well, we were talking about the editorial in the Dawn, and there was also a very perceptive article written by one of, I think, Pakistan's most astute journalists, Abbas Nasir, who was the former editor of the paper.
Right.
And he had written an article yesterday, whether it is 1977 or 1999, these are the two sort of
inflection points.
That's right. And the parallels with the situations which come closest to the situation that is prevailing now.
So 77 was Zia and
77
was Nawaz and Musharraf.
Absolutely correct. So 1977 was when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was arguably as popular as Imran Khan is today, overplayed his hand and rigged the elections.
Right.
And there was an agitation by the opposition parties, and that again led to street protests. And Ziaul Haq sent a warning to Bhutto that the army would not like to use force on its own people, particularly in Punjab province. All this is very reminiscent of, or very similar to what is happening today.
Yes.
And then, of course, the rest is history.
Sure.
1999, of course, was Musharraf versus Nawaz Sharif. Immediately after the Kargil misadventure of the Pakistan army,
right.
The level of mistrust between the Prime Minister and the army chief increased exponentially, and the entire system unraveled very quickly within a matter of months.
Correct.
And Nawaz Sharif tried to sack Musharraf, and then Musharraf struck back.
Sure.
So coming back to the present situation, this is something similar seems to be happening, and that is what Abbas Nasir has written.
Sure.
It is the army, in a sense, taking on perhaps the most popular politician of the day in Pakistan.
Right.
That is the parallel.
Sure.
So in a sense, it is a political leader who has the support of the masses versus the military.
Sure.
And traditionally, in all these situations, it is the military that has come out on top. But it is still a humdinger at this point of time, if one may use that expression.
Sure.
The point is that Abbas Nasir has written in this article that, coming to your point, that never in the history of Pakistan has perhaps, Abbas Nasir and other journalists also I think this is an article which appeared in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago. But the key point is that never in the history of Pakistan has the authority of the army been challenged as emphatically as it is happening now.
Right.
And in a normal situation, or perhaps in some situations, this might be a good thing.
Yes.
Because it is civilian power which is asserting itself
Right.
as against military domination. But unfortunately, there are differences, Nitin. This is not really a battle for civilian supremacy that unfortunately Imran Khan is waging. He is not really waging a war for civilian supremacy.
No.
What he wants is the army to support him and to be in his corner and, support him against the chores and the dakus as he calls them. So unfortunately, it is not a fight for civilian supremacy, but a more of a personality clash rather than anything else.
Sure.
And the army also finds itself in a difficult situation, in a quandary.
Exactly. Whether to act against its own people or
yes, that's right. And also, it is a fact that for long years, it is the army itself that has, propounded this line.
Yes.
That, the Sharifs, the Bhuttos, the PPP, the PMLN, these parties have been corrupt. They have, let the country down. They have sacrificed the country's national interest. And it is by peddling that line that, the army brought Imran Khan into power through its now discredited processes of political engineering.
Sure.
But then the relationship quickly turned sour.
Yes.
And now it is the darling of the army who's really become the enemy of the army. But in this process, what has happened is that there are constituencies within the army itself which have bought into this line of reasoning.
Yes.
And therefore, Imran Khan's pitch that how is it that the army can support these looters and dacoits against me?
Sure.
This has resonance within the army itself. And this is sort of leading to talk or speculation. I would still say that there is nothing very concrete about it, but there is increased speculation about vertical divisions within the army on how to confront Imran Khan, with some, a section of the army leadership advocating a less confrontationist approach as against others, including possibly the chief, who do not want to brook any, nonsense.
And from Imran Khan. Yeah.
Correct. And so therefore, in the last few days after the vandalism of last week, the army has now sent a very tough message that further acts of lawlessness will not be tolerated, and there is now, by all accounts, an increasing crackdown against the PTI, and that possibly is a process that will gather momentum with the passage of time.
Sure. In fact, Imran also is not appearing to back down because of his statement. If you saw last night, I think about 24 hours ago maybe, where he says that there was a plan to deny him any political space for the next 10 years. And he is accused that he's called it a London plan.
That's right.
That's what he has said. So that is one possibility, one point of confrontation. But like you mentioned about the increasing speculation of divisions in the army, the sidelining or a swap of the four-corps commander with his counterpart in the other insignificant position and sort of sending him there shows surely that there are some differences, if nothing concrete has come otherwise. But I think this was unprecedented again, when you look at it in the Pakistan history, context of the Pakistan history really. Would you think it that way?
Yes, that is right. And I think it is also a fact that, ever since he was appointed the army chief, General Asim Munir has had his hands full with the fast-paced political developments.
Sure.
And perhaps he is still, in the process of, he is not really established his grip fully over the army, perhaps. In the sense that what happened was, if you recall, just before General Bajwa retired, he promoted a large number of 2-star officers to 3-star rank. And normally one would have expected him to leave it to his successor to do it. So it's still, but maybe General Bajwa at that point of time was still looking at the possibility of an extension.
Yes.
But whatever it is,
Right.
there is a feeling that, the General Asim Munir still doesn't have his own team at the helm of affairs. He quickly changed the Rawalpindi Corps commander as soon as he came in.
Right.
He also got in a new DGISPR, and he also got in a new DGMI.
Right.
But still, most of the corps commanders and the people in the key appointments are those who were, appointed
General
by
Bajwa's-
General Bajwa.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think the next crop possibly of retirements, I think there are 4 or 5 of officers who will be superannuating in September. So I think by then, I think General Munir will possibly have his own men in all the key positions. September is always also the time when the Chief Justice, who by all accounts seems to have a soft corner for Imran Khan,
Exactly.
will be retiring, will be superannuating. President Alvi, who is also a PTI man,
Sure.
who has also been locking horns with the Prime Minister and the government of the day,
Sure.
will also be completing his 5-year term then. So we'll have to see what happens then. But of course, it's a long way from now.
Yeah, today is
September, and
only
of course,
May. Yeah.
much can happen even before that.
Yeah, we are in mid-May and September is still far away.
Absolutely.
Politically, how do you see it? How should the Sharifs see this? I mean, I know they're angry. There have been exchange of very angry words between Shahbaz and Imran Khan. And of course, Nawaz wants to come back. It looks increasingly difficult under the circumstances right now. So, if the courts don't play ball and elections are not held, I mean, courts want the elections to be held. The Pakistani army may not want Imran to contest. So, let's look at, say, a little ahead in the next 8 to 10 months. How do you see if you have to do the crystal gazing in the future?
Now, I'm tempted to say, frankly, Nitin, that crystal ball gazing, particularly under these circumstances, would be extremely hazardous and perhaps somewhat unrealistic also.
Sure.
But there is a range of scenarios, and I would say that nothing is carved in stone. So, I mean, the cookie could crumble in many ways.
Sure.
I see several, as I said, a range of scenarios.
Right.
And if you want, I can quickly
Sure.
run through
Yes,
some of them.
Please do.
One simple possibility is that, sooner or later, say between 3 and 5 months from now, in fact, today is May 15, and yesterday was the date that had been given by the Supreme Court for the elections in Punjab to be held, and the government has clearly defied the ruling of the Supreme Court. I'll refer to that also as I go along. Between now and October, the elections are held because the National Assembly finishes its tenure in August. And if it does so, then within 60 days in the normal course, elections have to be held under a neutral dispensation.
Sure.
So say sometime between now and October, say a general election is held, and I think the Gallup Pakistan poll put Imran Khan clear 30 points ahead of all his rivals.
Sure.
So a simple scenario would be that the elections are held and Imran Khan and the PTI come back to power with a thumping majority.
Sure.
This is a
Simplest.
this is the simplest of the scenarios.
Sure.
But one suspects that this is a scenario that possibly the current military leadership will try its best not to let that eventuality come to pass.
Sure.
With all the attendant sort of consequences.
Sure.
If they try to, I think the second scenario is that the crackdown on the PTI gathers momentum. As it is, the government is talking about trying all the perpetrators of the recent violence under the provisions of Pakistan's anti-terrorism laws and by the anti-terrorism courts. There was also a report, this was obviously to my mind, I think planted about a terrorist organization like the Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, a faction of the TTP, extending support to the PTI and to Imran. So all this could even suggest a possible, and I think the Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah has also spoken about this more than once, the possibility of disqualifying not only Imran but also perhaps proscribing the PTI itself and having an election minus Imran and minus the PTI. In which case, of course, possibly the PMLN could come back to power, and in the absence of any opposition whatsoever. In which case, even if all the court cases against Nawaz Sharif are not taken care of by then, then the present Prime Minister continues.
Sure.
I would, based on what the revelations of journalists like Hamid Mir and all what they've mentioned in the past, I think this might be a favored or a preferred scenario as far as the Pakistan army is concerned.
Absolutely.
But obviously Imran Khan is not going to take any such thing lying down.
Exactly. He'll try his best to disrupt that plan.
Absolutely. He will try his level best to disrupt that plan. Yet another possibility could be, the DGISPR and the army have very clearly said that there is no question of martial rule being imposed in the country. But should the confrontation persist, today, the Maulana Fazlur Rahman as JUIF have started a sit-in in front of the Supreme Court against what they say is the soft stance of the
Supreme Court of judges
in favor of Imran Khan. So they are further sort of in a sense vitiating the atmosphere. So if the confrontation continues and the situation completely spins out of control, then like it or not, I mean, you could well have a non-democratic interregnum in Pakistan. The army would then be constrained to move, and they would possibly, if the past is any indication, perhaps have a technocratic or a neutral dispensation in the front, and the military
from
behind, and that kind of. It is difficult to do all that, as you're aware, after the Musharraf period. Article 6 of the Pakistani Constitution was tightened, so it's difficult to now either subvert the Constitution or abrogate it or keep it in suspension or abeyance or whatever. I'm sure all these factors have been taken into account by the military leadership. It is difficult, but should there be a complete meltdown And should the violence of the past and the chaos and the mayhem of the last few days be repeated on a larger scale,
Right.
which cannot be entirely ruled out, then you could have some such,
Crackdown and some such development taking place.
That's right, and that would then, of course, put off any possibility of the elections for a long time.
Sure.
But then, if you ask me, Nitin, if you consider all these scenarios, one should also, I think, look slightly further ahead.
I was just
attempt to do so.
Certainly.
It's a difficult task, but it's worth thinking about.
Sure.
Which is that what happens, really, if a political party like Imran Khan's party, the PTI, which paradoxically its support
Creation
has expanded over, particularly after he was removed from power.
Sure.
Or it is now a party with a genuine mass support base.
Yeah.
What do you do when? What happens when a party like that is tried to, you try to take it out of the political equation? By all accounts, the youth form a substantial sort of support base of the party. The urban poor, the middle class, etc. And the economic situation being what it is, there is a great deal of, economic pain, frustration, and anger among the public.
Sure.
And so if the PTI were to be knocked out, then where do these people transfer their political allegiance?
Yes.
It's a question that has been asked by several journalists, several commentators.
Sure.
They have even talked of a possible, all this being a harbinger of a possible revolution in Pakistan.
Right.
But what would worry me is the possibility of, some of these supporters or a significant chunk of these supporters of the PTI, perhaps eventually over a long period of time, transferring their support base to the religious parties and to the radical organizations who have tried to enter parliamentary politics also. There have been some sections of the security establishment which have in fact tried to encourage that process.
Sure.
Now we are all aware that in Pakistan, the electoral base of the religious parties has been traditionally very low.
Right.
They have had street power,
Sure.
but not
Parliamentary power, yeah.
But, nothing stays static forever.
Exactly.
And if a political vacuum is created in the form of, the PTI being removed, the older parties being discredited, dynastic parties being discredited,
Sure.
then who steps in to fill the vacuum?
Right.
This is also, to my mind, something that is worth
looking at, but also something that India should worry about.
Absolutely.
Keep a close watch on.
That's right. And hence, I would say that, the possibility of an unraveling in Pakistan, on the whole, I think is not something that should make us complacent. If anything, it should make us even more vigilant, and we should try to understand all the possible implications and the ramifications.
I think on that note, this is the perfect note to end, because this is a note of caution and something that a lot of people in India actually are gleeful that, Pakistan is unraveling or is disintegrating. But we'll have to see what are the consequences. And like you rightly said, we don't know which way it will go. So I think close vigilance on not only the border but also situation in Pakistan is warranted. And I think we'll keep coming back to you to get more insights as things develop in Pakistan. But for the moment, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for all the great insights that you provided to our viewers.
Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Pleasure. So viewers, there you are. You got a full account of what could happen in Pakistan and what has happened so far. You couldn't have got a better person to tell us what exactly is the likely scenario or scenarios in Pakistan going forward, at least in the short term, and also the consequences for the long term if the situation deteriorates further. For the time being, that's all I have. Goodbye.